Well, God bless you and welcome. My name is Shadava Roberts, and this is a space where you can find practical and biblical wisdom for your everyday life and journey with Christ. And today we are continuing our series of breaking down the Proverbs 31 woman. We are now in session 3. There is an introduction and 2 other sessions that I would encourage you to go back and listen to so that you can follow along with us as we are going verse by verse and line by line, discussing this virtuous woman and seeing how we can become virtuous women ourselves. So many interesting and key points in those videos that I would love for you to grab a hold of so that you can follow along with us. But today, without further ado, we are going to jump right in. We're going to go straight into the scriptures this week, and we will go along from there. So we're going to begin this week's session 3, beginning with Proverbs 31, verse 16. And as always, I like to read the scriptures in a couple of different translations because I really just appreciate the wording from one translation to the next. I believe that it gives us a fuller picture of what's being said to help us to understand and digest what we're reading. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to be reading in the Christian Standard Bible today and also in the Amplified Version. So let's begin. Proverbs 31, 16 through 18. It says, she evaluates a field and buys it. She plants a vineyard with her earnings. She draws on her strength and reveals that her arms are strong. She sees that her profits are good and her lamp never goes out at night. Now let's read it in the Amplified Version. And I want you to specifically pay attention to these additional words that are added so that you get a clearer picture as we break this down today of what's happening here. It says she considers it before she buys or accepts it, expanding her business prudently. With her profits, she plants fruitful vines in her vineyard. She equips herself with strength, spiritual, mental, and physical fitness for her God-given task, and makes her arms strong. She sees that her gain is good. Her lamp does not go out, but it burns continually through the night. She is prepared for whatever lies ahead. So the question today in this session is, as we're growing into being virtuous women, in what ways are you investing in yourself and your skill sets in order to prosper from them? That's what's happening here. And this is going to be a big session for those of you who are already entrepreneur. You already, have started a business. You understand how business works and what investing looks like and those sorts of things. When your mindset, is and this is not to demean any, other person, but I'm just saying this will particularly stick out to or speak to a woman who's already working in that vein. If you're already entrepreneur, you're gonna grasp what's happening here more effectively than others. But I want those of you who are not entrepreneur to come up in your thinking. Okay, we're growing into becoming virtuous women, right? And so in order to gain every aspect and implement it into our lives, we've got to shift our paradigm. And we talked about this in the other sessions. So again, if you are struggling here to answer the question, in what ways are you investing in yourself and your skill sets in order to prosper from them, then ask yourself this question: what gifts, talents, or abilities can I be using, or can I cultivate, right? What can you begin to cultivate in those ways so that God can bring wealth into your life from them? All right? If you're struggling to answer that question, Ask yourself, what gifts, talents, and abilities can I begin to cultivate so that God can bring wealth into my life from them? Okay? Many things will come to your mind. All of us have a natural bent. All of us have some gifting. Even if it's not something that we use or we do with our hands, we may have an oration gift. We will very well speakers. We teach well, right? There's something that God put on the inside of you and all of us so that we can be fruitful and multiply in this earth. Okay? Everybody has something. Okay? All right? So, as I said, once you kind of ponder that and think about that, here's a couple things we want to look at. If it's your desire, to begin to invest in yourself and your skill sets in order to bring wealth to you or to prosper from them. If that's your desire, you got to remember, number one, we're raising the bar. Okay, we're setting higher standards for ourselves. Okay, and we're doing the extraordinary because the virtuous woman is not an ordinary woman at all. And we talked about that in the previous session as well. She's not, just a regular old run-of-the-mill, woman. And neither are you. And I want you to see that. I want you to see that there are hidden treasures on the inside of you. And God has given you the ability to obtain wealth. Many people think that God just gives us wealth, that he just pours resources into our laps and then, oh, wow, we're just wealthy. No, he gives you the ability to prosper. Right? So that's why I said all of us have something on the inside of us that will help us to prosper in a more fruitful way. So remember, we got to bring our thoughts higher. We're raising the bar. We're not doing the ordinary things. We're reaching higher. We're thinking higher. We're elevating our thinking. We're raising, to the mindset of an entrepreneur. Okay? We got to dream the biggest dream. So right now, if you're struggling, as I said, with coming higher as it pertains to having an entrepreneurial mindset, then just begin by asking yourself those questions, and then also take a moment to just dream. Sit down and just really envision yourself doing something that you never thought you'd be able to do, and understand that you can't do it alone. You can only do it with God's help. But as you are having or envisioning that particular dream, you got to know that God can do that in your life. He is God. His hand is not waxed short. He's the creator of the universe. He created you, and he can blow your mind with the things that he does in you and through you. Okay? So stretch yourself. Okay, as we're going through today, stretch yourself. I really want you to take some time and just think. If this feels uncomfortable for you, then just sit with that for a while. You can raise the standard or your level of thinking as it pertains to wealth, as it pertains to building, as it pertains to entrepreneurship. You just have to take the limits off. It's as simple as taking the limits off and understanding that you serve a God who can bring you to anything that anything that you can think of or imagine. He can do exceeding abundantly above that. If we have faith and we're committed to him in growth and expansion and development, he can take us higher. Okay? So are we here together? Let's come here together. Okay? We're going to pretend even if you don't feel that you're there yet. Just come along with us today as we go through quickly, because we really want to see what's happening here with the virtuous woman. We really want to see what's happening here. Grab a hold of it. I pray that we learn from it, that we can grow from it, and then begin to put some things into place that help us to move forward into generational wealth. So here we go. Number one, or the first question I want to ask today, as we read these verses here, looking at these verses, is talking about a stream of income that the Proverbs 31 woman has. It's an avenue for resources. Okay? And she is taking the initiative, the lead, and working on it here. So, what streams do you have? What streams do you have? Is it only your job? Is it only the 9 to 5 that you work? Okay? And there's nothing wrong with only working a 9 to 5. Hear me out. Okay? When you're thinking in terms of wealth management, the future, building legacy, those sorts of things, most people, I don't know of any that have gotten there from a 9 to 5. They have streams of income. Okay? And as I said, this may be a stretch, but just stay with me, okay? They have streams of income, and that's what we're talking about here. One of the streams of income for this Proverbs 31 woman, let's go back up to it here. She considers a field before she buys it, okay? Or she accepts it. She's expanding her business prudently. She's watching. There's some money she's put to the side. Where does your 9 to 5 come into place here? Maybe you can begin to save money, right? A portion of what you earn on your 9 to 5, put that aside and allow for that money to begin to work for you in the future. Even if you're not an entrepreneur and you're not building businesses, then you can still one day invest some of the money that you've earned, okay? You can invest, there are so many different avenues of investment that you can become a part of, right? To expand your portfolio. So as I said, that you can grow into wealth. Many people have done this, and it's just again about shifting our mindsets, that we don't only take the one thing that we have in front of us and focus on that, but we think about the future of our children. A good man, as the word of God says, leave an inheritance for his children's children. And a part of what she's doing here is positioning herself for that. And she's being prudent. She's being wise. Okay? So we're talking about one of her streams of income here, and I'm asking you, what streams do you have? Okay? And we look back at the scripture and we see that she's diligent and careful with her purchase. Okay? So she doesn't just make a dead investment. She's not just throwing her money into just anything. She's studied. She's taken a look at what she's investing in. She knows, long term, if it's going to produce anything good for her, what is going to produce for her, right? She's studied it. She's being prudent here. She's not just saying, oh, I have some money, there is some stock and blah, 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 I'm going to just throw some money in that. No. She's studying the patterns of it. She's seeing if it's growing. She's seeing, so many different things there. And she's looking at, how can my money grow? How can I make this money grow? Okay? How can I invest in a wise way? Okay, so she studied it and she plans to invest well. She knows that when it comes time to invest, or in stocks, or I'm just saying hypothetical, right? She's not investing in stocks here in the scripture, but if it were you, or if it's me, right? If the time comes to purchase that building, right? You have a vision for a particular business that you want to start. It's going to require space for that. If it's time to invest in stocks, okay? If it's time to invest in supplies for that baking business that you have, or, you may be, purchasing a new shampoo bowl because you're a cosmetologist, right? You're thinking of how to grow and expand the business. You got to study and plan for that. You don't want to just throw money at stuff, right? We don't want to just, heap up a bunch of products and have them sitting on our shelves for months and months and weeks, sometimes years, because we never did anything with it. We want to be wise with our investments, okay? So she's thinking of expanding the business, and she's not making a one-time investment in it. So oftentimes what I see people do is, you'll take all this hard-earned money, and yes, there's risk that comes along with investment, right? But they'll take their hard-earned money and there'll be, say, one pop-up shop, or there'll be a flea market event, or there'll be just one opportunity, and they sink all that they have into that one event, that one thing. And then the thing doesn't go well, and what does it do? It puts you in a deficit. So not only have you spent time and been patient and waited for your money to grow to be able to invest it, but when you're not prudent like she was and you're not wise, you can sink it all in one day. And it may seem fun or exhilarating in the moment to be like, okay, here's an opportunity, I just gotta, I gotta move on it. And a lot of times what people do is say, oh, especially, women of God, oh, I'm moving in faith, and the Lord is gonna move on this, I'm just gonna put everything in, I'm just gonna watch God. Well, if God hasn't given you a specific word and you do that, then the loss is going to be on you, and we can't be upset with God because we're not being prudent in our dealings. So we really, really, really have to think about that. She wasn't making a one-time investment here. She was thinking beyond the field. What can the field produce for me? Other than, there's probably a number of different things that can happen with the field, right? She can plant some, vegetables. She can do all kinds of stuff, right? But her mindset was, let me plant a vineyard here, and I'm gonna see our fruitful vines, right? In the vineyard. Basically, it was a vineyard, and so she wanted to see, or she was thinking long term. So we gotta be thinking long term. And sometimes faith can get in the way. I would say this, I don't want to word this wrong, but sometimes faith can get in the way. Or we will call it faith when we're actually just being anxious and we're not using wisdom, okay? And so again, this is the difference in the mindset of an entrepreneur, okay? When you're thinking of expanding the business, or I would say a good entrepreneur, right? When you're thinking of expanding and growing, thinking about the future, thinking about legacy and building, you're going to take your time. You're not going to heap up a bunch of money and sink it time after time. You're going to put it into something that's going to grow and be lasting, and it's going to produce lasting fruit for you. So yes, again, we take calculated risks as we invest in our future by building something that, will last for generations for us, okay? And we don't do things just on a whim, okay? That's not what investment looks like. We need to study and be wise and be diligent, okay? So if we want growth and expansion of the business, we got to make calculated steps with our spending, and then we begin to look for new doors of opportunity to open for us, but always remember, haste makes mistakes, okay? So be wise. All right, next question. What are you planting? So the first question today is, what streams do you have? She started with streams. The next part, to expand her investment even more, or using the streams of income that she has to expand her investments, she began to plant something. So what are you planting? Okay, what are you planting? So I think about seeds, and I think about a garden here. Yes, she planted a vineyard, but I just want to shift your mind here in terms of what I mean by planting. When you say get ready to work a garden, or you begin to plant something in the garden or whatever, first thing you're going to get is some seeds, right? Okay, you're going to get some seeds, and you're going to have more than one seed. Number one, because you might put something in the ground and nothing will come from one of those seeds, so you need multiple seeds, okay? But the point is here, we got to put something into the ground, and when the ground gives us something back, what do we have to do if we want to continue to reap up that fruit or that harvest? You put something back into the ground. So as it pertains to investments and planting here, it's not a one-time thing. Put something in the ground, harvest, put something back in the ground. You keep producing from that same stream. You keep getting revenue from that same stream of income, or you begin to get new seeds and plant for something new, okay? And so that's what was happening here. She was investing back into um, the ground, I would say, that she had already cultivated. Okay, so here's a couple things to think of when we're bringing it into today's time. It's something that may be more familiar to us. After the bake sale, if you're a baker, okay, do you go out to eat every day of the week with your profits from the bake sale? Okay, if you do, you're not planting. Okay, you got to get in the mindset of replenishing the business after you receive a return. Okay, when you make that investment, okay, do you blow all the profit from the investment on more liabilities? All you do is spend, spend, spend. You make a little money, you get a couple thousand here, $500, I don't care what it is, and all you do is, heap up more liabilities, right? More cars, more clothes, more jewelry, whatever, whatever the fun or the thing is that you like, right? So if the investments are made and you get profit from those investments, do you squander it all? That's the question here. Or are you going to reinvest that money, as I said, back into what you've taken it out of, so that your money can begin to grow and produce something new for you from what you earn? Okay? So what we see the Proverbs 31 woman doing here, she basically started a business from a business. Okay? So if you are a person who you're multi-talented, you got all kinds of gifts. You're an entrepreneur, but you also want to get into real estate investing. Okay? You can do both of those things, but you got to be extremely wise with your resources. So you may have a 9-to-5 in the midst of all of that. You work your 9-to-5, you take the money you earn from the 9-to-5 to begin to start, the salon or whatever. You get that up and you get that going to make that business grow. You're going to get some people in the chairs in there, so you don't have to be there all the time. Or either you just go in there part-time, maybe rent the space out to someone else. That's revenue coming back into you. But if you take that money, as I said, and you only invest in liabilities, you'll never be able to take the profit from that and put it into the real estate that you want to get involved in, right? And you stunt your growth. Okay? There's a such thing as stunting the growth of the plants. There's a such thing as stunting the growth of anything that you are planting, right? It can become dormant when it's not being cultivated, right? When we're not reinvesting into it, okay? So there are investment, these things are, if we do it that way, and follow the wisdom here, these are investment strategies of a wise, I keep saying wise, a wise woman. The Proverbs 31 woman was a wise woman. She wasn't only looking at today and what's in front of her, but she was looking out to the future. Okay, so we got to get in the mindset of becoming wealthy and not rich. A lot of times what we see on social media, and there is a difference. What we see on social media is a lot of rich people. We see clothes, we see labels, we see cars, we see jewelry, we see this lavish lifestyle, catching flights, going to Dubai. That's rich. Not saying that a wealthy person isn't going to Dubai and a wealthy person is not, wearing designer, but oftentimes wealth can't even be detected. And I say that because a person may be wearing, a $25,000 sweater, and because it doesn't have a bunch of emblems on it, you don't understand you don't know where that came from. You don't know who made that sweater, right? It's a wealth mindset. They don't need to have on the emblems or represent some particular company, they're not being, a wealthy person because of what they're wearing. The company, is benefiting from you wearing what they have. You get what I'm saying? Wealth is just it's a different mindset. In essence, that's what I'm trying to say. So, do I have designer things that have emblems on it? Yes. Monograms, whatever. Yes, I do, and I love those things. Not love them like I love Jesus. I really like them. Let me rephrase it. I like those things. Those things are nice, okay? But if a person is always trying to be flashy in that way to prove that they have something, then that person is only rich, they're not wealthy. That's the point, okay? It's there's a difference in the mindset. Okay, it's a difference in how people move when they're wealthy versus people who are only rich. Okay, so all that we've learned here in these first couple of verses, or in this first verse here, is that the Proverbs 31 woman, her wealth, in the way she established it and invested into it, is going to live beyond her. And that's really the goal, right? That's really the goal, that the wealth lives on beyond us. That it's not just about today, as I said. It's not just about what's right in front of me having something nice today, having that nice vehicle, that nice home. What about the rest of my family? What about the future of my children, right? What am I building that I can leave behind? Okay, so we have to think of it that way. That's where we want to bring our minds to. Um, so wealth can live on beyond you, but riches, they only last as long as your next purchase. Okay, they only last as long as your next purchase. Think about that. Okay, and note here, when I'm talking about building legacy for the future generations, she didn't invest, okay, quote unquote invest her earnings into her family members. She didn't invest to fund their lifestyles, okay? Because oftentimes what we'll do is, people see us doing well, they think you got a little money, and then you feel obligated to turn around and just throw thousands at people to take all your earnings, and again, instead of planning to making it grow for you and reinvesting in the proper way, you squander it away by really just, again, that's considered liability as well. Do you want to be good to people? Yes, but allocate a certain amount from your profit for that. Don't take all of it and just throw it away. So many people do that, and like I said, they have a rich mindset. Oh, when I get this money, I'm gonna buy my mama a house, or I'm gonna do this. And I think that's great. I think you should do that. Do that for mama, do that for whoever you want to do that if you just got money like that, right? But if you live like that all the time, if you're gonna buy a house for every person in your family, then you're not gonna have, the legacy won't be there. The wealth won't be generational. You're gonna have a lot of stuff, but all the stuff is gonna die with you. It won't live on. It won't extend to make anyone, any person in your family, mainly your children's lives, better in the future. But what you can give them, okay, is the knowledge that you gain, the wisdom that you gain on your journey of learning how to grow and invest and build, and then they'll never be broke. But if all you give them is stuff, then they'll always have a poverty mindset, and so will you. Okay? Okay, so that's not investing. Just want to put that out there. So we're going to move on. Okay. She invests in her overall well-being. We're done talking about the business aspect now. We're done talking about, planting and those sorts of things. We're talking about personal development here now. We see also that she invested in herself. She invested in herself. Let's go refresh ourselves here before we close this out today. I know this video has gone over a little bit longer, but it says she equips herself with strength, spiritual, mental, and physical fitness for her God-given task, and she makes her arm strong. How are you going to accomplish, be well for all God has for you to do in this life to fulfill your purpose if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not investing in your well-being? So the question is, in what ways do you invest in yourself? How are you investing in you? What is your spiritual life like? Are you spending time with God? Because that is vital for everything that you would do in this life, and for growth, increase, and expansion in every aspect. You got to spend time with the Lord, right? What books are you reading to be stronger mentally? And if you don't gain more wisdom, then it's going to be hard for you to rise. That's why so many people, they rise to the top, or whatever the top looks like, and they're not able to enjoy it because they're mentally bound. Okay? They're mentally bound. So how are you investing in your mind? You'll only prosper and be in good health As your soul prospers, your mind is a part of your soul. We got to be well in our minds and healthy in our minds. Amen. Okay. 3 John chapter 1 verse 2. That's what I'm getting there from. New King James Version. It says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." We got to prosper in our souls, in our way of thinking. So get your mind right. We got to get our minds together. We got to be delivered from some things and set free so that we're able to expand our thinking and grow, raise the bar, raise the standard, and to think outside of the box of what we've always seen, and to become something that nobody else around us may have ever become because we decided to take the limits off, okay? So what's your workout regimen? Okay, that's a part of investing in yourself. Are you eating a healthy diet and exercising? Are you taking the proper supplements? All of these things are important for developing and investing in yourself. Are you getting enough rest? I know this is one I got to work on. Get more rest, because all these things work together to transform us into being a virtuous woman, and it takes time and intentionality. Okay? Growth and expansion and increase takes time and intentionality. We got to be diligent about it. So lastly here for today, her lamp does not go out through the night. Okay? It burns continually, as the scripture says. So the question is, what's still working while you're sleeping? If we're diligent, if we're being about our business, if we're investing, we're putting seed into the ground and reap a harvest from them, what's on an automated system that's working while you're sleeping? Hallelujah. Clearly you can't stay up, clean through the night and then get up the next day and have the energy to go through the day. So we got to read into what's being said here. Okay, what's still working while you're still sleeping? Remember we talked about delegating in the last session? Who's working while you're sleeping? That's probably another good question to ask. Who's moving about and doing things on your behalf or for you that you delegated to while you're taking the time to rest yourself, to reinvest into yourself? What things in your life have you planned and they're on automation? Okay, is it your investments? Is it your booking calendar? Is it the orders that are being placed for whatever that program is or whatever while you're asleep? Okay, what's working while you're resting? Okay, we got to learn to move forward towards automation. That's how we build generational wealth. And what I really hear, what I want you to take away from this last piece is, it's just diligence. And I believe I've said that already. It's diligence. That's what she was focused on here. In order to build for the future and leave a legacy behind, we've got to be diligence. And the root of the diligence comes from us being tied to purpose. She woke up every day on purpose. She went to bed on purpose, or in purpose, should I say. So are you living on purpose? That's our last question for today. Are you living on purpose? If not, I want to encourage you to spend time in the presence of God. Nothing will boost you and fuel you and sustain you in this life like living on purpose for the Lord. It'll give you the energy that you need to challenge and to tackle each day and any challenges that are set before you, because you know that purpose is attached to your life and what you're doing. And that's all I have for today. I know I've gone on and longer, just kind of trying to drill that point, that we really need to elevate our thinking. We need to allow for our paradigm to be shifted in order to be able to move into wealth. Okay? All right. So ponder those questions from the session today. Again, I encourage you to go back and watch the others. I pray that you have been being blessed, that you are being blessed by this Proverbs 31 woman series. And as I've said in almost every video to some degree, we are all a Proverbs 31 woman. She is somewhere on the inside of us. Again, because God has given us the ability to obtain wealth. He's placed greatness on the inside of us, and I believe that He wants us to see our full potential before we leave this earth. And if nothing else, we should live each day striving towards that. So be blessed, be encouraged, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.